Hello, my name is Charlotte Adcock. I'm the multimodal planner at ACOG, and I'll be the one guiding you through this presentation. First off, a thank you. We are grateful that you are willing to give us some of your time to help Central Oklahoma count bikes and pedestrians. With your help, we can make the Oklahoma City metro area more bikeable and walkable. So as you're aware, it's that time of year again. Every spring and fall, the National Bike and Pedestrian Documentation Project takes place. ACOG is proud to help local communities in the region prepare for these days. This fall, the official NBPD counts take place during the week of September 12th. However, there is some flexibility to these dates. First, allow me to give you some background information on the project. The NBPD is a national manual count of bicycles and pedestrians that started back in 2002. It was the result of a collaboration between Alta Planning and Design and the Institute of Transportation Engineers Pedestrian and Bicycle Council. As I mentioned before, counts take place every spring and fall on one weekday and one weekend day during peak hours. So why do we count? I'm sure you've heard of state departments of transportation taking traffic counts. It helps them plan, design, fund, and justify the needs for these road projects. Bikes and pedestrians have no such regular system, and it makes it difficult to justify the needs for funding for bike and pedestrian-related projects. There could be a need for a sidewalk on a street that doesn't have one, but without the proof that numbers can provide, state and federal governments may not grant access to funding. To fix this lack of data, the NBPD was created, and now many cities and towns across the country participate, including Central Oklahoma. As mentioned previously, we count in the spring and fall, when the weather is nice and people are more likely to go out. Hopefully your count days will have nice weather, sunny or cloudy, and comfortable temperatures and humidity. We also count when school has been in session for a while, but we also need to be aware of any local events. These events, such as home football games, alter vehicle traffic patterns and can greatly affect bike and pedestrian movements. We all know Mondays and Fridays can be crazy. For one thing, they don't make for good count days. People who ride or walk to work may use these days to drive their work clothes to and from work. So instead, we count on Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday for transportation purposes and Saturday for recreational purposes. Timing can also vary. In the end, it will be your local count project coordinator who will determine the times that you count, but the NBPD recommends 10 a.m. to noon and 5 to 7 p.m. on weekdays and noon to 2 p.m. on the weekend. The official count dates this fall are Tuesday, September 13th through Thursday, September 15th, and Saturday, September 17th. Check with your local count organizers for your specific times and days. Most cities in the area tend to do 10 a.m. to noon on their Saturday count instead. Norman is hosting their counts a week later when OU football has a bye week. Those volunteering in Norman will be counting on Tuesday, September 20th from 4:30 to 7 p.m. and Saturday, September 24th from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. There are a few things you will definitely need to take with you to your count session. You'll obviously need your count forms and instructions, as well as a pen or a pencil to write with, but you'll also need something to write on, like a clipboard. You may also want a map, and you'll need some way to keep time, either on a kitchen timer or a timer on your phone. You should also wear a high-visibility safety vest for safety reasons. You might also want to bring your cell phone with you, as well as some snacks and water. Make sure you dress appropriately for the weather. If it's chilly, bring a light jacket, and don't forget your sunscreen. We also ask that you arrive at your station about 15 minutes before your start time, so you can find somewhere to sit and fill in the top of the form. Always be aware of your surroundings. Sometimes people get curious and won't stop to ask what you're doing. And while we don't want to scare you, you need to be aware that some may be a little bit hostile. This is why we told you to wear those vests. If you have a buddy and are wearing the safety vests, you appear more official. But just in case, you will be given an official letter stating what you are doing and the purpose of the project, as well as contact information to both myself and your local project coordinator. However, if you ever feel unsafe, just walk away and contact your local coordinator to inform them of the situation. And as always, in case of any kind of emergency, call 911. Now that you know what to bring and what to do when interacting with the public, let's talk about the count forms. There are two types, screen line and intersection. Most cities in central Oklahoma use the screen line count forms, which is where you simply count how many bikes and pedestrians are crossing your line of sight. In an intersection count, you go a step further, noting whether they turn or go straight. So let's have a look at these forms. This is the standard screen line form that the MBPD uses. Start by filling in your name, where your count location is, the date, the start and end times, and the weather. You will be counting in 15-minute intervals for 2 hours. On this form, you will note whether the person crossing your line of sight is a male cyclist or female cyclist, or a male pedestrian or female pedestrian. The other category is used for people getting around in other ways, such as by skateboard, but we'll go over who's who in a moment. This is the first half of the standard intersection sheet that the MBPD uses. Again, start by filling in your name, where your count location is, the date, the start and end times, and the weather. Note that this form is specifically for cyclists. There is no way to note pedestrians. There's also no way to differentiate between men and women. Still, it allows you to note if the cyclist is turning or going straight through the intersection. So it's all well and good to tell you what these forms are and what to do, but why don't I show you what they might look like filled in? To the left, we have one of Edmond's count forms one of their volunteers filled in this past spring. It looks like Hayford Park is used mostly by pedestrians. There aren't many bike riders going through here, which is something important to note. When filling in your form, be as accurate as you can. Don't be upset if you only get one person passing by every 15 minutes. You might get to the end of the session and only have 2 or 3 boxes with tally marks in them. That's just the way that it is in some places. Now let's decipher this form. In the first 15 minutes of the count session at Hayford Park, no cyclists went by our volunteer, but 3 female and 3 male pedestrians did go by. In the second 15 minutes, 10 female pedestrians and 3 male pedestrians went by, and so on. At the end of the session, the volunteer added up all of the tallies and filled in the bottom box to reveal that 1 female cyclist, 3 male cyclists, 80 female pedestrians, and 32 male pedestrians went by him in the 2 hours that he counted. To the right is the intersection count form. None of the cities in central Oklahoma have used this form, so this is just a mock-up that I put together just to show you as an example. This isn't a real count location that anyone has used. Our fictional volunteer is located at the fictional intersection of A Street and B Street. In the first 15 minutes of her count session, 1 cyclist comes down B Street and turns west onto A Street, and she marks him in A3. 3 more cyclists ride by but continue straight along B Street. She marks them in A2, and so on. Now that you understand the count forms, let's finally talk about who you will be counting. Pedestrians. Anyone walking, jogging, running, or using a wheelchair or other assistive device is a pedestrian. Children in a stroller also count as pedestrians. So a father pushing his child in a stroller counts as 2 pedestrians. Cyclists. Bicycles, unicycles, hand bikes, recumbent bikes, 3- and 4-wheel bikes, pedicabs, and e-bikes all count as bicycles. Count every person on a tandem bike. If a family of 4 are out for a joyride on their tandem bike, that makes 4 cyclists. A child riding in a trailer behind their dad is also considered a cyclist. And a bike rider who dismounts to cross an intersection and remounts on the other side to continue riding is also a cyclist, not a pedestrian. Others. Horseback riders, skateboarders, rollerbladers, kids on scooters, these all count as other. Those riding on hoverboards and segways would also fall under this category. People just walking alongside their bike could either be considered other or a pedestrian, so check with your local coordinator to see what they want to classify them as. When you have finished your count session, please hand your forms back to your local program coordinator. Make sure you also return anything else you have borrowed for the counts. And thank you again for your time. We really appreciate you volunteering to help us count bikes and pedestrians in central Oklahoma. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact either your local program coordinator or myself. I can be reached at cadcock@acogok.org or at 405-234-2264. Thank you again for your time. I hope you found this presentation helpful. Happy counting!